People need to know, regardless of how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. They must affirm themselves. We must encourage ourselves, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets. I'm going to make it. Mental health is affecting millions of families around the world. Now more than ever, there's greater levels of anxiety and stress and people feeling alone and hopeless. This conference will bring families together and give us the tools that we need to handle it. Families and friends and mental health professionals. It is going to be featuring the CEO of Mamie, Dan Gillison. As you may know, Mamie is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization, dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. It's going to be an incredible experience. You are not alone. Mental Health Summit.
Hello, Les. How are you?
I'm great, and so are you. You're looking like fresh money.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Thank you. So it's so good to be with you and really excited about this event. Thank you on behalf of NAMI. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. And so good to be with you and your guest and the community. Les, I know the community really listens to you and is really interested in this topic. So glad to be with you.
Well, I'm excited, and this is Love Day, and I believe that every day should be Love Day. And as we look at ourselves and look at where we are and all the various things that's going on, to create a climate, and this is what NAMI is about, creating an affirmative climate and atmosphere for people to know that regardless of what they're going through, they're not alone. That we all have stuff. We're all dealing with stuff. 3 months ago, I fell at the lobby of the Fort Lauderdale Hotel and I bruised my ribs. And then just a week ago, my daughter fell. I said, is this a family thing?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so she dislocated her shoulder. She had to have surgery on her arm to have a steel plate, and she had to have her ankle put in a cast. And so here we are both. She came to take care of me. Now I'm taking care of her. and what's so good about this thing called life, to know that there are people that's for you. And there's a guy named Sid Simon. He wrote a book, and in it he talked about your bread and butter people. And what NAMI has done is been a bread and butter. In that when you're going through some stuff, if you are needed, they will be there. They're going to come through. A bread and butter person, like your car break down, you call them at 3 o'clock in the morning and you say, hey, look, my car broke down. I need you to come get me. They will ask you where you are. But if they're not a bread and butter person, they will ask, what time is it?
That's right. That's true. That's so true.
Yes. Yeah. So you've been a bread and butter person and organization in the lives of people, seniors and people that are physically challenged and people that are going through mental challenges. And now more than ever, it's more pervasive. But here's the good news, that people are now taking it seriously. And the summit, you are not alone. That's something that people need to hear, need to know. Harvard University just completed an 85-year study on what is it that caused people to live the longest. And they thought it would be exercise and becoming a vegetarian or being able to become a vegan, a variety of things they came up with. But what they came up with that was even more important than all of those things, vitamins and herbs, all of those things, was positive relationships.
Yeah,
positive
relationships.
relationships. It
Yeah.
makes the difference. Yes. And so creating a community of love, of faith, collaborative, achievement driven, positive relationships where we're there for each other because life happens to all of us. What do you say, sir?
You know, you're so right, and I would tell you that first of all, that Harvard study is so on point. It is about community, and it is about relationships. It's about collaboration, and that's what this is. This first of all, this collaboration with you and I is so critically important, and we're talking to the community, but we're also talking about community, and we're talking about relationships, and we want to make sure that folks know that. One, we say you are not alone, but we also say we meet you where you are, not where we want you to be, and nothing about us without us. So this is about, it's the C's, it's collaboration, it's conversation, and it's community. And NAMI's been doing this for 44 years. We started in 1979, and we started as an organization run by mothers who were advocating for their sons. And there is no more powerful voice than a mom advocating for their child. That's where we began, and we grew from that small organization to what we are now. And we're in over 660 communities across these United States. And we like to say that we're like the DNA in the communities where if we don't have the resource, we know where the resource is. And we also have support groups. And those support groups are support groups that you as a family or an individual, you come to that support group, you see someone across from you, sitting across the table, sitting across the room that's going through what you're doing. So again, you are not alone. And there's something magical that happens when you are able to interact with someone that's navigating that same situation that you are. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, I am not alone. And community and relationships build from that.
And the other thing is, and we talked about this some time ago, that we really need to create an atmosphere where people are willing to ask for help, not because they're weak, but because they want to remain strong. And Henry David Thoreau said that most men and women go through life in quiet desperation. And I believe that what Nomini's mission is, and what you've been working on, is to encourage people to remove your ego. Ego means edging God out. And your pride. Pride cometh before a fall. And ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. That all of us have our moments in the Garden of Gethsemane. All of us have moments in life when life snatched the rug out from under you, and you don't know where you are. You hit your head and it knocks you senseless. And we need some help to get our footing, to get back to our center, to navigate this place where we are now, where we've never been before.
Yes, for sure. And we try to create judgment-free zones. And that's what we mean when we say we meet you where you are. We're not there to pass judgment. We want to meet you where we are. And there is strength in vulnerability. There's not vulnerability there. There's strength in vulnerability. And so that's and meeting you where you are takes away the judgment. And it's almost like in different things that you and I professionally have been in, where someone says, well, this is going to be a PowerPoint free zone. Well, we're going to, or PowerPoint free presentation. We want it to be a judgment free environment. And we want to make sure that we create a environment that you feel safe, you feel loved, and you feel community. So that's what we do. Those are some of the tenets that we try to set up and establish when we're talking about it. When you're speaking to someone and they share with you, oh, I've got diabetes. They don't have any shame in sharing that. They're not vulnerable when they share that. It's a matter of fact, and they're sharing it. Well, we should be thinking about everything from the neck up the same way. And we have to look, and we have to take care of our full self. We talk about self-care. We also have to talk about full care. And as the CDC has said, and they coined it years ago, there is no physical health without mental health. But we seem to think about physical health and we discount mental health. Both are critically important, and you cannot have one without the other.
And it's important that we help people to create rituals that allow them to fortify their mental health, because life is a roller coaster. Sometimes things are going well, and sometimes things are not going well. And even when they go well, it says, this has not come to stay, it has come to pass. But giving people a ritual that allow them to maintain mental strength, mentally and emotionally and spiritually, to understand and know that life happens, and that we have a presence and a power greater in us than anything that life can throw at us. And when you couple that with the things that you can learn being in a community of other people that's going through the same stuff you're going through, it strengthens you. It puts your ability to pull yourself up off the mat of life and be able to continue to engage in life rather than surrender to depression and anxiety and psychotic behavior, to begin to put into ourselves music that uplift our spirit, listening to things that are encouraging and that's positive, and having voices around us that's speaking life, and watching and reading about people who've gone through the red seas of what we are dealing with, and letting us know that we will be stronger and better on the other side.
Yes, it is something that we say that living with. You can live with, and you can succeed with. So it is not about not being able to, it is being able to, and building that behavior and that mindset that really provides that for you, and also having the protocols and the processes and that discipline and that regiment that keeps you going on a daily basis, whatever that regiment is. If it is music, or if it is music and exercise, if it is some type of a breathing exercise, if it is yoga, whatever it is that is a part of your protocol that has you feeling full, you need to make sure that you are following that, and you need to listen. And I wanted to speak to that for a second, because we really have some tenets in terms of NAMI. So we listen, we lead, we educate, and we advocate, and we also learn. So we have 5 tenets, and those are our 5 tenets. And we can't lead unless we listen. And if we're listening, we're learning. And then our job is to educate and to advocate. So that's really our 5 tenets.
And when you think about those 5 tenets, one of the things that we all know, nothing works unless you do. I remember talking to my youngest son, who has been struggling with mental illness. And I said to him, help me to help you. You remember that movie, Jerry Maguire, help me to help you.
Help me help you.
Yes. And I said, man, listen, I said, and this is what you're saying is so true. You can live with, but you got to do the stuff that you must do. Honor yourself by being responsible, taking your medication, getting your rest, and focusing on things that lift your spirit, things that allow you to engage in life and not neglect yourself. There's nothing more important than your mental health. And the other thing that I had to learn, and I almost became Black History here in the division where my daughter lives. I pulled over, told my daughter who was driving me to pull over to not lose the signal. I was negotiating with someone on a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 5 minutes, I saw a guy come out his house, and big burly guy, about 350 pounds, and he had his son walking behind him. And so as they got closer to the car, he said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm trying to get a stronger signal. I said, my daughter, she lives 3 doors down, and my signal is weak, and I'm going to get her prescription from the drugstore. So he said, keep it moving. I said, well, sir, yes, sir. I said, but listen, man, you don't have to talk to me like that. Well, we've had a lot of robberies around here. I said, I'm not a criminal. I don't commit crimes. I decrease crime. And then I looked, and I said, your son, you got a gun in your hand. You're aiming a 9mm at me? I said, man, have you gone off the deep end? Listen, man, I mean, you know how I'm just in the car with my daughter. So his son then lowered the gun to the ground and said, I don't need a gun for you. I can take you myself. And then Les Brown, who teach when things go rogue, don't go with them. I said, if you put that gun down, I'll get out of this car and whoop your ass. So my daughter, she said, Bruce Lee, please don't get out the car.
I could hear your daughter saying that to you.
That boy is 19. His daddy weighs 350 pounds. He got a 9mm, and Bruce Lee, you about to get out the car. Come on. She said, just keep it moving. I said, okay, I forgot.
Yeah.
But and then the man leans forward and said, my son's got issues. He suffers from PTSD. Everybody in the compound knows that. And I said, sir, at no time did you say to your son as he was aiming the gun at me, put the gun away. My God, what if he had had an episode at that time? I have a twin brother who suffers from PTSD, who was in Vietnam. I said, my God, he shouldn't even have access to a weapon. And so there's some things that we need to do that's common sense, but not common practice. And education that we need to provide for people that will help us to begin to navigate where we are, but also to think ahead strategically. What kind of environment am I creating that will allow us to have mental health, that will allow us to create an affirmative environment for people that are struggling with their mental health and be able to live a normal life?
Yeah, it's and I'm so sad about your experience, but the experience that you just shared is something that so many of our young people have experienced growing up, and it's called trauma is what it's labeled. But going to our young people, it's something called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and if you were a youngster, and you are still young, Les, but if you are a youngster and you experience that, that would be an adverse childhood experience that would probably, and it would create trauma that would feed into your growth and your growth in so many different ways in terms of your perception and then your stressors and your anxiety. So that in and of itself is trauma that becomes vicarious, and we call it vicarious trauma from the standpoint of some of the events that we've seen and some of the events that we've lived. But now let's come full circle to a couple of other things in our strategic plan, NAMI's strategic plan. We believe that, we want people to get help early. So that young man you just mentioned at 19, if that post-traumatic stress disorder had been diagnosed earlier in his life, which it probably was there some treatment for him earlier so we can catch it sooner, before it takes 11 years, and most diagnoses happen at age 14. So a young person, that diagnosis happens at 14, they don't get treatment until 25. So wow. That's what we're seeing across America. I think that getting help early and then getting the best possible care, those are two of the pillars of our strategic plan, and they are so critically important in today's environment. The other thing is that what happened in the last few years with COVID is just incredible. We could never have forecasted what COVID would do to us, and in many communities, you know that it was exacerbated because in some communities, the workers who were called the critical workers, and as they were the critical workforce, many of them were hourly employees, and those hourly employees were living in multi-generational houses, and they were very concerned that as I go to work, and then I will be bringing COVID back home to my great uncle, my great aunt, who is living in the home with us. So there was a lot of dynamics there from that. There was fear of, will we ever come out of this? Fear of, will I contract COVID? Will I have someone else? Will I give it to someone else in my family? Uncertainty of what the times meant. Nobody could go to school. And then doubt about the way forward. So that fear, uncertainty, and doubt really brought so much of this into this being mental health, mental illness, mental concerns, and the isolation to the forefront. So for everybody out there, whether you are a young person, a student, a young worker, or a parent, or a godparent, or a grandmother, know that you are not alone, but understand that what happened is now the result of what we're seeing with so many of us, ourselves and our loved ones, our children, and our friends. And we got to be there for each other. And we also have to understand that just like you get a knee or a rotator cuff injury, or like you took that really bad fall, Les, in your ankle and your ribs, seek treatment. Seek treatment. It is okay to seek treatment. It is okay to not be okay. But it's not okay not to seek treatment. If you fly, what is the first thing you hear when they're giving you the protocols before they actually taxi you on the runway? They actually tell you, they walk through that, hey, if something were to happen, please put your mask on first before you put the mask on your loved one. Well, we need all of you to put your mask on, and that's called self-care.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we encourage you to join us. You Are Not Alone Summit. That's going to dramatically impact your life, the people that you love about. And it allows all of us to live a life that will outlive us. It allows all of us to take a stand, to do the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves and the people that we care about, and to move forward and understand and keep at the forefront that mental health is everything. You can have all the money and all the toys, mansions and everything, but if you don't have your mind, that's challenging in this thing called life. The You Are Not Alone Summit. Please tell them, Dan, where it's going to take place, what time. And I've been eating hot pepper on a fork. I can't wait to speak there, my brother.
Yes, You Are Not Alone event.com, the 24th and 25th of February. Be there. You Are Not Alone event.com. We look forward to seeing you, and we just are so grateful for you, and we're so grateful for Les Brown. And this is about your greatness, and we can't wait to share in your greatness on the 24th and 25th of February.
Bye for now.